Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the COASTER-net Dispatch. We've got some breaking news that Jeff, you've been put into a text message thread, I believe.
Yeah, I got added on this app to a group chat, and it's got all these coaster war plans in it.
And you told me off air that the breaking news is that they've discovered some fatal flaw in the renovation of the beast, and it's finally closing for good. Is that the next one to bite the dust?
It says that there's going to be an airstrike.
Oh, oh no. Okay, so no, that's
In the next
actually
hour.
oh, ooh, ooh, oh. Okay, so you can't always believe what you read in text message threads and group chats that we know they don't ever give real information in them, right? They're very non-specific. So we don't know what's going on. But what we do know.
These are specific coaster war plans. They're very specific, actionable plans.
Well, okay. Well, we'll make sure that you stay on that thread. I'm going to talk about some other stuff that we do know has happened, and the theme of this past off season has been what the closing of roller coasters for the most part. That we just got another announcement this week that officially something that we all suspected was coming. That officially Superman at Magic Mountain is closing. They are keeping Lex Luthor open though, so the structure's not going away. They did say Lex Luthor will still be open for this season, but the Intamin launch coaster is officially done, will not be returning. Add that to the list of all the other rides that have closed. I think I have forgotten more than I remember at this point. Obviously, King Ka has been the big one. The Flash coasters, those little Skyline kids coasters, look like they're officially done. We lost Scorpion at Tampa Bay at the end of this year. What else is closed?
Lava Bora,
Yeah,
Green Lantern. It's actually getting to be a pretty big list now, isn't it?
it is. And other parks are now closing rides with
Anaconda.
Anaconda as well. Other parks are now closing rides and not really giving updates on their future. We saw Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun. That is right now, we just know it's going to be closed for all of 2025. Um, and we don't they we just saw pictures from Twitter with a board up around the entrance with the signs taken down. So who knows if that's going to see future expansion, conversion to something. Who knows with that one? And then we also know Kumba at Tampa has had a wall put up in front of its walkway to the ride, and that one's been closed for over 150 days now, something like that.
It closed unexpectedly in January at some point, I believe.
Okay, so I thought it was longer than that though. I thought I saw somewhere it's well over 150 days that it's been closed.
I don't know.
Did it reopen at some point over Christmas and then close again? I don't know. There's a wall up now. I haven't been really following intently. So it seems like a whole bunch of these coasters are closing, and some of them I get. Like people always are like, oh, well, what do you guys think about, all the coasters closing? Most of them would be like, who cares so far? I personally, I think if Kumba was to close and be torn out, I really think Kumba would be probably be the biggest loss to the coaster industry that we've seen. I know a whole bunch of people love King Ka. You're one of them. We've already discussed that once. And I get it. People love that ride, so that's a big loss too. But I think Kumba would at least have to be the second biggest loss on that list. Everything else has been kind of like, oh, okay. Anaconda, I usually walk past it. La Vibora was a fun ride, but I don't even count bobsled coasters as coasters, so who cares? It's a cool
Yeah.
flat ride that they had there. But for the most part, nothing's been like, oh, this is life changing. But we're beginning to see, okay, well, maybe some of these bigger rides are going down, and of a certain age as well. So when you start looking at all those B&Ms that were built in the early 90s, mid 90s, and you wonder how much longer they have. And you could always repair them, right? What do you think?
I'm gonna repair them. No.
No, not you personally going to repair them, but. But you can repair them, right? They're steel. There's really no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we've seen it be done in a very dramatic way with Nemesis and also Hulk at Universal. But
And I would
I
almost say those two examples are almost like I've always it's not sat well with me the idea that Hulk was just rebuilt. And I always felt like it's a brand new coaster at some point. Yeah, they left a lot of the lift there. But they took out all the supports, they took out the rest of the track. I've always felt that they cloned it in place, like it's a brand new coaster at some point. And
Yeah, and they have a reason why they did that. It had to do with their rules around their IP and everything. But if there is a beloved B&M, it just lets you know that it's something that could be done. I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
absolutely. So like with Nemesis, I think that's the perfect example that they didn't have to work around the IP issues, and they went in and just rebuilt and cloned it in place. Like they took out all the supports too, right? That wasn't.
That I'm not
Yeah, I
100%
don't
on,
know.
but it's got a weird terrain over there. They were kind of locked in by some other rules, and it probably made the most sense. And people
Yeah,
love this. I think that
and realistically, there's a few older B&Ms that people tend to love. I don't want to name names, but you can maybe look behind me and see one of them at least. Uh,
yeah, I mean everybody loves Batman.
Well, everyone does love Batman. That's true. But it's kind of like, is that the route that a lot of these parks going to go? You look at Timberwolf and you say, okay, so now we have GCI coming in, putting Titan track on all these rides. That is significantly increasing the rideability of it, increasing how much people like the ride. I can tell you, having been on Wolverine Wildcat, uh, the track work they've done there has been amazing. With just making a ride that I thought was mediocre at best into, hey, that's actually a pretty nice ride now. Granted, a lot of people are saying that you change it into steel, but I don't care at this point. Like I think the whole wood steel debate is becoming so moot that it's to the point of ridiculous, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you follow CoasterNet, I actually wrote a blog about this a couple of years ago about how wood coasters are way too magnetic. But I feel like sometimes it works. I mean, the I got to ride Boulder Dash near me, and they redid the whole first drop and the turn going into the woods. And I heard that they're doing more. So we'll have to see when it reopens for the season. But they also took a lot of the trees out, so it kind of lost a little bit of that effect down there. I also had the displeasure of going on Mind Blower, and that was the exact opposite experience where I had previously gone on the ride and thought it was amazing, and I feel like I escaped with my life this time, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So those two products, like I'm not sure if it was just the way that they were implemented or what, but like it's certainly inconsistent. I don't know if it's the end all be all to the wood coaster question, really, or
Well,
at
and
least
I
not.
don't know. I just don't think we'll ever see the end of wood coasters. Like we saw Zambezi Zinger just recently be built. That kind of shocked a whole lot of people because everyone thought that would be like a steel coaster in some regard. And then all of a sudden it's a wood coaster. So it kind of came out of nowhere. Cedar Point's still on the board with possibly always out there. Hey, do they want to build a wood coaster? Do they never want to go down that road again? Which I think a lot
It
of people
seems,
are getting to. Like it's a
yeah,
lot of
it
work.
seems to be what they're missing, right?
Well, and if they don't do it, they're really the last park in America that I think would want to invest in a record-breaking wood coaster. And when you have so many good wood coasters already in America, you have things like the Voyage and El Toro, and Danny will throw something at me for saying that. Um, and it's like, well, you don't want to do something else. Like we already have Prowler, we already have Mystic Timbers, we already have things like Phoenix, and like you don't want to just do the same. You'd have to do something different. And I don't know if a park out there wants to do that and wants to put in the maintenance work on it too, because like I said, wood coasters take a lot of work. They like you look at Hollywood or you look at Holiday World, like they're literally rebuilding almost 33% of the ride every single year.
Yeah, that voyage is it's not the same voyage that they started with if you're looking at that. But I also would say that the CCI, sorry, the Gravity Group pre-engineered tracks seem to be more successful at like creating a good experience, and also what GCI was doing with just the full-on wood reprofiling. Everybody seems to like those projects a lot better than the steel ones.
And to be honest, I'm still a little skeptical about the Gravity Group stuff because Intamin did the prefab stuff with El Toro, and yet
Lasted a long time. It
it
lasted a
lasted
long
longer, but it doesn't last forever. Like
time.
you're still on a ticking clock there, and it's a lot shorter ticking clock than you would say a steel coaster. The steel coasters run fine with at least their track work for decades versus this
Yeah.
prefab. You're probably looking at 10 years, 15 years. Uh,
Well, El Toro's, about almost 20 years old.
yeah,
So
almost 20 now, but it's been mired in problems for at least the last. Danny's been complaining about it on tour for at least 7 years now.
I
So
don't see why, because he used to complain that it was too smooth, and now it feels exactly like a normal wooden roller coaster, except faster, more exciting, with more airtime.
go figure, he can't make up his mind, right? So
I don't know.
Um, so that's one avenue is they could actually try and fix some of these older rides, trying to rejuvenate them, bring them back, maybe clone them and rebuild them. The other question is some of these parks looking at new areas of investment, right? That they're clearing
Yeah,
out old to bring in the new, which I'm not against because we sit here and talk about Europe getting all the good rides, and I don't know if that's going to change with the current political climate and taxes and tariffs that we have, that we might not be seeing a whole lot of Intamins and Max anymore. But who knows what's going to happen? Things change daily around here.
sure.
So if we complain that Europe's getting all the good rides, well, the one of the issues that America has is that a lot of these parks have space, but they don't have a ton of space to work with. That it's not a blank slate. You're pigeonholed into an area. You're limited by what's around it, and how much money you have. So by taking away something like Anaconda, well, guess what? Yes, Kings Dominion has a ton of land, but they want something in that area that's going to drive ridership. And now we have a ton of land to play with all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, King's Dominion is got an immense amount of
Yes.
property that's totally undeveloped, but it's also inaccessible from the midways. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like the Anaconda, I mean, I don't even want to call it a plot, but like it's kind of like a plot, but you're building over like basically drainage,
Yeah.
which is going to be challenging if that's what they're going for, is where I would expect them to invest in next. Although maybe not next. Uh, they just redid the whole jungle expedition area, and we're seeing what I don't even know how to say it either. I've been calling it
Pantherian.
yeah,
Pantherian.
I've been calling
Pantherian.
it Pantera 305
Oh
just
God.
to be a little different. But when I talk to my friends, but I mean, like we're seeing that opening late because they're retheming the whole area. I wonder if that will continue with Flight of Fear, if
Yeah.
the stunt track might get rethemed before they think about investing in something new. Because those
Well,
big areas, that seems to be the big trend for Cedar Fair. Sorry, Six Flags.
Well, exactly. And the other thing is you just put in Rapterra, that's going to have to take hold for at least 4 or 5 years, not if not more. Um, but you don't know, like, so Cedar Point just got Siren's Curse. They just got Rapterra, which looks to be a fantastic ride for
It
everything
does.
that we've seen so far. And you look at some of these other parks, and there is some talk of sales at some point of there's a Cedar Fair call of where they were open to the idea. I think people blew that way out of proportion when they
I
said
think
that they're
so.
open to the idea of selling, but they never said they were selling parks.
No, they said if there was an opportunity, but I think that the more if we stick with King's Dominion, for example, not that I think King's Dominion is for sale, like if you go past I-305, past the water park, they own everything
Yeah.
all the way down to the next road.
Yeah.
And maybe they sell a lot along that road and make a new subdivision, and that could be a sale and fit
Yeah.
exactly what they said in their call and raise capital that they could use in the park.
Yeah, and that's the perfect example of maybe not selling an entire park, but just selling off assets or pieces of the park that you have no intention of ever developing. And why just hold on to that? Unless you want, we did shows on that, unless you want more complaints from neighbors. Make it into a
Yeah,
condo
but
complex with senior
Yeah, but
citizens.
if you buy a house or a condo or whatever from a subdivision of a theme park, like you know the theme park's there. It's not
That
like
that won't stop them from complaining. We've learned this lesson. That will not stop them from complaining. Trust me.
those
But
NIMBYs.
so we've seen all these parks. So that was the Cedar Fair call talking about maybe, selling off things. So, fitting our theme of another one bites the dust. But then we've
Sure.
seen parks do the opposite now, all of a sudden, too,
Yeah.
right? Where we've seen parks come in and do this big merger. We have Hershey coming in, buying all the Palace parks, which kind of came out of left field, right?
Yeah, that was really surprising, but I think that this is another version of our coaster wars where they're looking at how do we build up our portfolio instead of how do we make the biggest, tallest ride? Because let's face it, once Falcon's Flight opens, like
Yeah, the
nothing's
game's
touching
over.
that.
Yeah, the game's
Yeah,
over.
yeah. Basically, we're going to be at state records,
Yeah.
country records, continent records, but nobody's touching that.
Yeah, we're back to the dubious distinctions of prepositional phrases added onto records. So with that, like that came out of nowhere. And I don't know if I like the move, to be completely honest with you. They're picking up a lot of parks that I
Yeah,
think need a lot of work. Like I think Kennywood needs a lot of work. It needed a lot of work 10 years ago when I went to it.
yeah,
And they haven't really done a whole lot because when you go to places that you consider Herschend parks, you like Dollywood and Silver Dollar City, and then they recently acquired Kentucky Kingdom, and we saw them redo that whole kiddie section, all the
yeah.
way
They're
back to
going to put a
Storm
lot of money
Chain.
into there.
So they're pouring a lot of money, and that's a park that needed work. That
Yeah,
it looked when you walked through it, it looked dated and it needed work. And more dated than even so. A lot of people got down on the legacy Six Flags parks and be like, oh, look at how junky these places look. But a lot of these other places looked far worse than any Six Flags park ever did. Like I'll be completely honest. That when you're walking through even Six Flags America or Six Flags St. Louis, and then you walk through Kennywood or Kentucky Kingdom for that matter, there was a distinct difference. Like you knew there was something different. But Kentucky Kingdom had invested their own money inside the water
they
park,
have.
adding the flyer ride or whatever they call it. I don't really keep up that much with Kentucky Kingdom.
Yeah,
Um,
Kentucky Flyer,
yeah,
and
that one.
they bought a couple of rides in rapid succession, and you know,
Yeah. And there is parts of the park that felt modern and new because they were. And they redid the front of the park a little bit to clean it up. But there are parts of the park that needed a lot of work. And I feel that with the Palace parks, that now you have a whole lot of parks that need a whole lot of
yeah,
work. And we
and
know that
Herschel's
Dollywood
good
has
about.
money.
Yeah, but they're also good about having like different forms of entertainment. Like Hershey has the water parks, but it's also got like aquariums. They own the Harlem Globetrotters. Like there's just a lot of variety in there, and the resorts, of course, seems to be their focus right now, at least in Branson.
Yeah, in
Uh,
Branson, and then obviously in Pigeon Forge, they have the two over there. It
yeah,
just I just feel that Herschend has always been, and they dabbled in the Darien Lake thing for a while, where they took
Mhm.
over and managed Darien Lake for a little bit of time, and then they pulled out. And that I thought I still think Darien Lake was a passable park, and I still think that was in a lot better shape than some of these places they just acquired. And I love Adventureland in Iowa.
Yeah.
But that's another park that feels dated at some levels. I think it has a nice little charm to it. But that's a park that if you pour some money into, you're in a market there that I think could work. I'm not hopeful about Kennywood at all. I don't like the market. I don't like Pittsburgh, and not
I don't
not
know.
just the place, but I
I,
just think that anything you do at Kennywood is going to piss off all the Kennywood fans, and I don't think you're going to bring any new people to go to Kennywood. Like I just it's a no-win situation there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been pretty thoughtful so far. Like when they came into Kentucky, I think people's first thought was not like, are they going to invest in new rides? Are they going to make this place look nice? They were like, are they going to take away the bourbon? And like they didn't, like they thought that that was an
Yeah.
issue. My first thought when I heard that they were going to get, Kennywood Lake Capounce is, are they going to take away Haunt? And
Oh,
after I sat down and thought about it, I was like, you know what? I bet that they won't. I bet that they'll realize the local, desire to keep that stuff going. And, you know, a fresh coat of paint on some of those older buildings and some renovations might be what that park really needs. Like Kentucky Kingdom needs a pedestrian walkway. Um, like that they should not be building a roller coaster until they have a pedestrian walkway. There shouldn't be a crosswalk and a car accident in the middle of your park.
well,
Uh,
I think the one concern with Kennywood is that they would touch that they would be almost forced to have to fix, and I say fix in quotation marks, some of the older wood coasters,
yeah.
and put modern safety restraints on them. And if you do anything like that, it's gonna
Yeah,
kill.
that would rub people the wrong way, I
Yeah,
think.
it's going to
I think,
kill everything about Kennywood, and that's where I think is the no win. Yeah, it could use a good lawnmower through the park. It could use some fresh paint. It there's a lot of things that Kennywood could use, and I think Kennywood has a lot of nice things and cool things to do, but so much of that is steeped in the history, and I don't think Hershen's going to go the Knoebels route of preserving history over like litigation. I don't know.
yeah, you never know. That's a very good point. But good news is they have a great relationship with RMC. So,
Oh my God! You want to
oh,
set you want to set the Thuzies on fire today? Like,
oh no, they're gonna RMC the Thunderbolt.
oh man, oh man. Well, can you at least ride by yourself then, if that's the case? Like, jeez. Um. So
But
it,
over by me, there's some parks with good bones though. Like Splish Splash that's like literally a few miles away from where I live.
oh,
Like
is it
that's
really?
actually a really nice water park that
What's
people
funny
really
is like I'm
enjoy.
like, who is Splish? Like I'm trying to figure out Splish. I get emails from them all the time, like the PR people, like talking about.
Okay,
I'll just forward them to you if I
just
ever
forward them to me. Yeah,
if there's
no,
ever an
I'm
event there. I didn't know that you're going to the next Splish Splash PR event. So
yeah, I'm probably 6 miles from Splish Splash.
okay, so there you go. So you'll be going to their next event. So don't
But
worry.
I've always fantasized about them adding on and putting in a dry park. There is literally a sod farm right next door. So like with
Yeah.
one purchase, they've got enough land to build the whole theme park if they really wanted to.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Lake Capounce is a park that has built up property that's undeveloped before they kind of like went through that like churn of different managers. So like they're dying for somebody good to come in and give them some great direction. And hopefully they fixed Wildcat. I don't know. I haven't been on it yet.
I also think that if, and they have never done this. Well, I don't know if they've never done it, but there's not currently one there. And I don't remember the last time, if there ever was one. I don't remember it. If they did a combined pass that would get you into multiple parks, I think it would help that chain inspire
Palace has,
people to
Palace
go.
has, but
Palace has had passes, yes, but Hershon, I don't remember if Hershon ever had a combined Silver Dollar City Dollywood pass. I feel like they might have at one point, but they haven't had it for the better part of 2 decades, I think. So
yeah, that would be a tougher one for them to market. But with all this new stuff, maybe even like, hey, if you're a season pass holder to Dollywood, you get free parking and a discount at
yeah,
our other locations, whether it's like
yeah.
an aquarium or a water park or whatever. I think people would probably appreciate that.
And just by happenstance, I currently have a Dollywood season pass. That we went over Christmas, and I said, well, maybe we'll go over the summer too. But I'm
Right.
just like thinking to myself, like if they did offer something at a reasonable price or a reasonable upcharge to go to other parks, I would probably buy into that system because I want to go to Iowa. Like I really like Adventureland in Iowa. I think it's a nice park. I love Monster. I've been there 2 times now. It's only 4 hours away. I want to go that way at some point. And having a financial incentive to do that would inspire me to do it, because now if I don't have to pay ticket entry fees for anybody, now that makes that trip a lot easier and I can go spend some money there, versus me saying, 50 bucks a ticket, 40 bucks a ticket, whatever it is, we'll just put it off to when we have, whenever. So, but I think it would inspire some people to maybe go out and explore some of those parks that, like Tuesdays like us and probably like you're in the Northeast, like you go to all those parks, like they're right next to you. But someone like me and someone in Chicago, unless you're doing a trip to hit all those places, like a Lake Compounce, like is that a place I'm gonna go? I went there once. It's
Yeah.
probably not a place I'm going back to, you know?
Well, the odd thing about most of these properties is they're not in places where people would go on vacation unless they
Yeah.
already kind of lived in the area.
Yeah.
And even Splish Splash, like, I mean,
They're local parks.
yeah, yeah, like we've got a vacation area out here, in the Hamptons, but it's kind of like a local vacation spot. Like people don't really travel here from far away.
Yeah.
It's like the city's playground. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that kind of thing where could you inspire some people to move out there and to go explore new parks? And is that beneficial to you? Or do you want to just keep it season pass based? Hey, this is where you go. And then you wonder if the Palace parks will still offer something to go to.
Well, I'd imagine they have to honor it for this coming season,
Yeah.
and then we'll see next year, just kind of like we did with the Six Flags Cedar Fair. We got to wait a season to see how they restructure everything.
Yeah. And that came real quick. A lot of people are like, oh, we won't know this forever, and it's going to be years before we get. And then all of a sudden, we get a combined pass that's cheaper than the pass I paid for the year before. Blows my
Yeah, but
freaking mind.
with separate benefits, I bet you in another year they'll make another step and they'll
Yeah.
combine everything.
Yeah, and this is just step one to get people into both parks, get people into the system, to kind of know what your base is. So like so many people were double booked. Like I had a Cedar Fair pass and I had a Six Flags pass. So until I figured out what they were gonna do, I was gonna keep both. And now that they have the combined pass, I canceled my Six Flags pass because it didn't make financial sense to me anymore. And now I have so now they get a more accurate count, I think, of how many pass holders they actually have. And then when they do a bigger combined system, because it's going to happen, there's no sense in having two separate systems there. Um, and I think it is a logistical thing more so than a philosophical one, where it's hard to combine computer systems sometimes, and that's going to take time
Yeah.
to do.
And both companies have done serious work on their apps leading up to this merger, and I bet you neither one really want to relinquish what all that progress that they've made.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna do a lot of surveys this season and see what people like and what people don't like and come up with an app that is great. And we've already seen these transformations within these Six Flags parks, of them kind of becoming more Cedar Fairish is what we've seen with restaurants and the way food is served to people at those places with the cafeteria style, pick your plate, pick this, move out the door. Not so much ordering like off a menu or something where it's, hey, everything is out in front of you. Here's your food. There's the door. Because Six Flags always had an issue with you ordering something and then it being cooked and then it being handed to you. That there was always, and Cedar Fair has kind of broken through that code. Even though I'm not super happy with a lot of the food that they make, I've never been overly impressed by it. But what
Yeah.
is impressive is the speed of which they kick out that food. And it's like, here's the food, it's cooked, you order it, here it is on your plate. There's no waiting around with a ticket number. to see when your order's coming up next. It's there it is. And if you're not ready yet, if the food's not there, then you stand in line. So it kind of broke the code on that, and we're just going to see that roll out everywhere. I think in all the Six Flags parks, it is a superior system, to at least logistically of how to deal with food at a theme park.
Yeah, I mean, the the difference there is very stark, but also the price difference is there as well. I know that I'm in a bunch of different groups, so I see the New England group. There's a lot of sticker shock for people that are seeing like, oh, this is going to change, that's going to change, and my bottle doesn't come for free anymore. Like, they're starting to see they're starting to feel that nickel and dime aspect of it.
Well, and then I've also seen that people feel that the food choices are cheaper with Cedar Fair stuff with that style. That I know
I
people who
don't.
went to over Georgia were really impressed by the changes that were made, and a lot of people are not by a whole lot, but maybe by a few bucks, maybe a few bucks cheaper, because Six Flags at the end there was tacking on all those extra fees and surcharges and extra crap left and right. So Cedar Fair doesn't really do that, but like you said, they do the
Yeah.
bottles and
Well,
all that.
yeah, yeah. So like I'll just say like I have a family of three, pretty much like if we all got like chicken fingers or pizza or just something like stupid like that at like Great Adventure or New England or one of the places near us, it would cost like $40 or so. Like, we all have our drink bottles already because they came with the thing last season. When we go to Dorney Park, $80.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
the exact, and it's the same crap. I mean, like we're not talking good food. Like I'm just saying like the crappiest stuff that you can get fast, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that's where the adjustment's going to be, and that has always been, and I think maybe that adjustment needs to be made at some level where I think so many people got so in tune to all the dining plans and all the meal plans and getting everything for like Six Flags at some point with the Diamond Elite, which I had, was giving the park away. Like I had the
Yeah,
Diamond Elite pass with a meal plan, with a drink bottle. I could walk in the park, not spend a dime, have food all day, have drinks all day. And then even if I did want to spend a dime, I would only be spending a nickel because I got 50% off of everything in the park. Because
yeah.
like every single t-shirt I bought was 50% off. Every single, cotton candy thing was 50% off. At some point they were giving away the park and I loved it. I took advantage of it.
Yeah.
But that's unsustainable too at some points.
Yeah, so like I mean, I feel like since I started paying my own bills, like the gate hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Like to get in, like sometimes there's like, oh, bring a Coke can, get it somebody in for
Yeah.
free. Like they used to do that deal where they don't seem to do those kind of things anymore. But like parking, food, those other areas, that's where we've seen it go up.
Yeah.
But now, when Cedar Fair came in and bought Paramount, they had a little bit more room to invest and put their stamp on it. But when they bought Six Flags, they had the same drunken spendthrift kind of period at the same time. So we're seeing them redo everything. So what I definitely expect to see lots of restaurant changes. I know you said over Georgia, so like the area around Goliath, I know has already changed big time,
Yeah.
and people to like it. New England said that they're redoing the eatery and the bumper cars that are across from Quantum Accelerator, and that's like the place that people like to eat at. So they've got a little pressure to make sure that that's good. Um, and I'm expecting the boardwalk to change at Great Adventure with all their talk about, revitalizing that area. So, what other like changes might you expect for them to put their stamp? Like in Chicago, what do you expect in the Rock Sasha area? Are they going to do a big plaza there for you think?
Well, yeah, because there's not a whole lot to do there because like you have Rock Sasha, you have Demon across the way. There's a few little things that you could put maybe a new restaurant there. Um, but I have to look at those pictures because they just finished the track up recently, and I have to look at the pictures to see if anything else is going in there. But Cedar Fair is going to put in a gift store because that's what they do on all their rides.
Yeah.
So you can just guarantee that. I'd be shocked. And that's one of the things that I kind of like about Cedar Fair is I like having the gift shops as you walk out the ride. Like I want to go buy a t-shirt. And I feel like Six Flags has always struggled with marketing their coasters outside of the first year. The first year you can get merch for anything, but in year 10, I want to still be able to get, a whatever roller coaster t-shirt. And I feel that having those gift shops there would be helpful. I don't think we're going to see a wild spending spree with coasters. I don't think because Six Flags has done a good job with flat rides, maybe better than Cedar Fair has done. Granted, a
Mhm.
lot of those flat rides were busts and went absolutely nowhere and got torn out already. Um, but I don't feel like we're going to see a whole bunch of huge expenditures on coasters. I'd love to see Great America get something really big. Um, and there's always the debate of how tall they can go and who knows how tall they can go. Um, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of huge coasters go in. I think we might see realistically we saw maybe one coaster go into Cedar Fair every year. That's been kind of their trend as of late. One big coaster, a few little smaller things here and there, and then changing up the ambiance. And maybe now with all the Six Flags parks, maybe they're forced to push it to two big rides every year. One and I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, one for Six Flags, one for Cedar Fair. I think we as enthusiasts need to get out of that thinking real quick, that this is one chain now, and we can call things, and we'll always know. Like you still know what the Paramount parks are, but
Yeah.
when people talk about Cedar Fair over the last 5 years, Kings Island and Cedar Point are still the same thing here. That whole, oh well, that's a Paramount park. Only us old diehards carry that torch still. Most of the newbies don't have that compunction like we do. So I still carry the hatred of Kings Island with me wherever I go, especially the Beast. Which is it closing or is it not closing?
I just got another group chat. Oh, it says that Busch Gardens is going to be Busch Gardens America.
By order of the president?
I think so.
By order of the president. Busch Gardens America. Get rid of all those theme sections of other continents. We don't need that here. We'll have a Florida section and a North Carolina and a Texas section. Why do you need all these other sections in the park? Just have a nice Florida man section, right? Put some gators out there. Well, Jeff, it's been a lovely evening discussing things with you here. And we talked about a lot here. We only have a
Sure.
few minutes left. So, any
We,
final thoughts on the evening?
no, no, just feel good catching up on all the stories we've ignored.
Yeah, like people are like, why aren't you talking about things? Well, everyone's saying everything that like what more can I add? But we found a way to do it for 40 minutes here this evening. So, as always, I am Andrew Barchek from Chicago, Illinois.
And I am Jeff Goodman from Long Island, New York.
Not the Gulf of America, Long Island, New York. That's not there. That's on the opposite side. Anyway, right on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.